Brothers and sisters, we're here, we're live. We're at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street. Call somebody. Tell them the action is on the air. The Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton is in the house getting ready to come to you. And in fact, right now, I want you to get on your feet for the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, President and founder of the National Action Network. No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
Hug the person next to you, tell them you love them. National Action Network, change choir, get them a big hand. Get them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning. For you that are here live at the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street in the village of Harlem. And then you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, or you that are watching us at various chapters around the country at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. We're happy to be with you another Saturday where the action is. Give a hand now, Presider Attorney Michael Hardy. And certainly to all that have been participants in the program this morning, let me reiterate a couple of messages and a couple of announcements. At 10 this morning, the funeral services for Reverend Ron Christian started in Newark, and I'll be joining the funeral as soon as we go off the air. I spoke at the wake Thursday night. The funeral is going on at Newark Technical High School on West Market Street in Newark. Reverend Christian was a pastor and community leader and one of my little brothers. And he has spoken here at the network. Many of you remember one Saturday morning he filled in for me, worked very diligently with our New Jersey chair, Reverend David Jefferson, and Reverend Bartley, our New Jersey coordinator. And it was stunning. Week before last, when I had just got back good from South Africa and had gotten this message that he had gone the evening before to his church and went in his study. And a young man, he was only 51, he looked about 41. And he usually took a nap in his study, laid down, and late at night they found him dead in his office. Massive heart attack in his office. It goes to show you that life is not certain. We live like death is possible and life is certain. Life is uncertain. Death is certain. And I went the other night to his wake and stood in the room where he died and viewed his body, and it came very clear to me again that we ought to live every day to the fullest and live every day like it is our last day, because it may be. Nobody told you when you leaving here. Nobody. I don't care how holy you are, how pious you are, how righteous you are. Ain't nobody gave you the date that you leaving here. So you ought to act and behave and live like it's your last day. And you ought to treat everybody the way you want to be remembered, because that might be the last time you see them. And you ought to treat me nice. I may preach your funeral. I just thought I'd slip that in, make sure y'all was woke. But a fine, outstanding pastor, and his story is a redeeming story. Here's a young man who publicly preached about how he had been a heroin addict and had battles with alcohol. And he recovered, started this church with little or no members, and built it to thousands. And he would go in the street and get junkies and homeless people and people that did all kind of unsavory things and turn them around, because he knew how to relate to them, because he come that way. Sometimes people don't understand why you go through things in life. That's going to be part of my message today. Maybe you go through things to prepare you for what you are born to do. Everybody didn't come the same route, because everybody wasn't headed the same place. Hello. I remember I got in that car a few weeks ago, and the driver sped off, went through all kind of different side streets. I'm born and raised in New York. He went down streets I didn't know. Got to the airport in record time. Only problem was he got me to Kennedy and I was supposed to be in LaGuardia. So he did a great job getting me to Kennedy in record time, but the wrong airport. And a lot of y'all got a great route mapped out, but it ain't going where you going. In order to arrive, always keep your eye on the destination. Hello? So this young man was prepared, Reverend Ron Christian, for a ministry of recovery and redemption. And he preached that and responded to it. Now you got different churches that serve different purposes. And his church could do that. Some of y'all go to churches that don't minister that, to minister to others with other needs. Some go to churches that have a strong men ministry. Some are strong women's ministry. Some of y'all go to the great bourgeoisie poo-poo churches where y'all are proper and have proper etiquette and all that. I got that. All of that. Do what you do. I don't down nobody. As long as you're fulfilling your purpose. But that's why you shouldn't look down your nose at somebody else. So I will always extol and remember the legacy and life of this great young servant of God in New Jersey, Irvington, New Jersey, Reverend Ron Christian. Give him a big hand. Glad to be joined this morning by one of our national board members and one of our biggest supporters, Reverend Dr. Lamel McMorris. They hung his portrait in the Morehouse King Chapel last weekend. And one of the great honors that you could ever have in civil rights and ministry is to have your portrait in the King Chapel. And it's of particular importance to him because he's a graduate of Morehouse. And only those that reach a certain level of achievement get a portrait hung in the King Chapel. Reverend William Jones and Reverend Lowry, the people of that ilk. And he's been now joins that. They hung mine about 2 years ago, and Reverend Lowry said I'm the only one in the King Chapel with a process. I said, well, James Brown told me I would stand out if I styled it like him. The rest of y'all just look like regular Hall of Famers. I stand out because I got the J. Brown thing. I'm the only one that has a master's degree in the good foot, too. Last Saturday, I want to thank Attorney Hardy and the panelists and our Saturday morning radio action producer, Dominique Sharpton, for filling in. I was in West Palm Beach preaching and speaking at the funeral of Corey Jones. And this young man, 2 children, married, never had an encounter with the law, no criminal record, was a musician, and worked for the housing inspection there in West Palm Beach. 3 o'clock one morning, coming from a gig that he was doing, he would perform part-time, work full-time in housing. Car stalled. 3 in the morning, he called back up. Guy riding with him, white guy, said, I'll hang with you, Corey. He said, no, you go on, I'll wait on the tow truck. Unmarked van pulls up. Man gets out the car, plain clothes. And next thing we know, shoots him 7 times. Said, we thought he was sticking up. I was an undercover cop looking at burglaries in the area. Found a gun in Corey's car that was registered to Corey. So the police are saying, well, he might have pulled the gun. Well, first of all, if the policeman showed up unmarked car in plain clothes without a badge showing, he might have pulled a gun. Exactly. But I thought y'all, I said this at the funeral, I thought y'all believe in stand your ground down here. Y'all told me with Zimmerman and Trayvon, stand your ground. Zimmerman wasn't in his car, his house, nothing, and you let him go. Here's a man in his car, waiting on the toll and on the phone. They got it all on recording. So I went and spoke at his funeral and stood by that family. And as you know, life has a way of going in circles. Reverend David Wright is the one who called me on this. And David Wright is married to the first cousin of Corey Jones. David Wright's daddy, you know as the Godfather Gospel, Reverend Timothy Wright. And it was Timothy Wright that called me to get Sean Bell's family in touch with me. So I was thinking about how life just goes in circles. And the interesting thing about this is that that week, the Saturday before, we left here and went to the precinct and had a vigil for the policeman slain in East Harlem, the officer Holder. When I left the vigil, Reverend Kevin McCall, who is here and heads our crisis department, got a call, and the father of Officer Holder and pastor said they would see me to give my condolences. We went out and visited the whole family there. While I was there, they said, well, can we take pictures? We took pictures. I said, well, I'm going to put one on Instagram. I want everybody to know that we gave condolences. We've already done the vigil. All of the press was there. Many of you went with us that Saturday. They said, well, are you coming to the funeral? I said, well, if you want me to come, I'll come. Yeah, we want you to come and speak. Okay. Next day, they tell the papers they invited me to speak. Front page Monday, I'm coming to speak. Unions go crazy, start playing members of the family against each other. I said, wait a minute. I am not getting in the middle of all of that to be no sideshow. Because what they would have wanted, and I'm explaining it this Saturday because I wasn't here last Saturday, they would have wanted this man who died in the line of duty, doing what we need in our community, rather than deal with the merit of his service and the memory of his family. They want some sideshow with the police union and me fighting, or they turned their back, or Sharpton came and they got stiff necked. I would not take away from the dignity of what this officer did to play politics with some people that are not big enough to understand that when a policeman gets killed in the city, all of us mourn. We are not anti-police. We're anti-police brutality and not going to apologize about it. So then they're going to go through the back and the forward and the in and the out, calling Rem Kirsten Ford, calling McCall. Well, who invited, who this? I told them, don't even get into all that. We did what we were supposed to do. We withdraw, let them respect this young man. We gave donation to the family and go on. Because we would have had an opportunity to say that we unite as a city behind a policeman that serves in our community. Those union folks that didn't want that message of unity, it says more about them than it does us. Well, Reverend, we don't know what's going to happen. Well, let me bring one back to you. That's why I show up every Saturday morning, because I try to bring up stuff y'all don't think about. Y'all think we were just talking. In July of this year, you ain't got to go back, this year, on the anniversary of the choking death of her husband, Eric Garner, we went to the church in Staten Island, the church that Cynthia Davis, the head of Staten Island NAN, who's here this morning, headquartered us in when Eric died, Bishop Victor Brown's church. We went to that church a year later, this past July. With us, the mayor and the cardinal of the Catholic Diocese, Cardinal Cardinal Dolan, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, and all of the major ministers, Reverend A.R. Bernard and all, and me, and the commander of the precinct. And they stood with the Garners and the police and lit candles of understanding. If we could stand with the police on the year anniversary of a police killing, we could have stood with Holder. But the Gardeners showed that they are willing to stand for something bigger than them, than some of those union guys that want to keep the city divided. That's what the record is. Not one reporter reminded the city that that is not how we behave. Not only with the police, the cop and everybody there. Hello? And some of them, I don't want to stand with that. And it was East son of God and said, wait a minute, this is our family. And we about trying to get justice, but healing the wounds as we fight for justice so this won't happen again. It goes back to that old wisdom of Solomon. Some folks show you who really are concerned by how they respond when the pain is presented. So I don't want y'all to get sidetracked. And let me tell you why this is important. When we look at what's going on around the country, in Chicago, where Ray McMorris is from, this week a 9-year-old boy killed in a retaliation shooting. Now, you know, there was a time that even the mobsters would say you can't kill civilians. I see Reverend Bill Gilchrist yelling, that's right. He must have hung out with some mobsters. He usually don't say amen nowhere. He woke up and started amening me this morning. We're going to do some research on where Gilchrist come through. I might find out Winston is Winnie the Pooh or something. But anyway, there was even the rule in the streets. You don't bother people's women and family. Am I right? Now we are living in a climate where they go and kill the child to retaliate against the father. I ain't talking about on no show on television. I'm talking about in our community by us. I want to think about this now. Anytime we've gotten to the point where the value of life of our children don't matter, it's time for us to stop and do a reality check as to where we are. Not just Chicago. Woman in New York threw a 2-year-old out the window. In the Bronx. So whether it's Tashawn Lee, 9-year-old in Chicago, or the woman in the Bronx, we are in a serious societal crisis where the value of life has come down to nothing in our own community. How do you bring a child in the world and throw it out the window? How do you have children and would go and blow another child who you don't even know if he know what his father do and blow his life away? Where have we gotten so cold and so insensitive that we don't care about human life? And in the middle of all of this, our leaders and thinkers and those that are supposed to be our scholars are so busy positioning themselves and competing that we're not addressing the societal crisis that we're in. And you wonder why you have diminishing crowds and diminishing return, because you're not addressing the kind of state of siege the people are living under. That's right. Something off when you're more concerned about where you positioned than what your position is. Now, how do we get here, Reverend? Well, it took a lot, and it's going to take a lot to get us out of here. First of all, we were not like this without a process. And when they killed the process and process us another way, the results are what you get. If you take a science course, if you go to chemistry class, the elements make whatever it is that you're trying to get. H2O make water airtime. Don't miss one time. What were the elements that made us appreciate human life? What were the elements that made us want to be somebody when it didn't even make sense that we could think we could be somebody? What were the elements that gave us pride when we didn't even have property?
That's right.
And if you analyze the elements that was in us that made us, then you go back to the elements that have led us to this now. We've gone from values and the backbone of our communities being built on principles and values to where we are now in an aimless, no standard zone, no regard for our history. In fact, we make popular those that condemn what preceded them. We're in a reckless, aimless era that we don't have the courage to stand up and challenge.
That's right. That's so right.
So, anytime you go from documentaries to reality shows, where you go from 7 or 8 black talk radio shows to 1 or 2. Where there was a time growing up in New York, every channel had a black show that would educate, from Gil Noble and Like It Is to Eugene Calendar and Positively Black. Every station, down to none, or half of one. The process has been gone. You've gone from elevating models of success and thought to elevating hustlers and pimps and hoes. And you act as though the model of success in our community are slicksters rather than thinkers. Those that are ruthless rather than those that are rooted. You celebrate depravity. Listen to the music. We've gone from Aretha Franklin singing Respect, and James Brown singing Black and Proud, and Marvin Gaye singing What's Going On, to now where we just singing about nigga, hoe, B, shoot 'em up. Why give her your heart when all she want is a pocketbook? That's what they sing. That's what they sing. We've gone in our community from Bill Withers singing Grandma's Hands. How Grandma's hands. Went to church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands. grandma's hands. We went from grandma's hands to them hoes ain't Lord. That's how you get. That's how you get to T-Shawn Lee. You lost your standards and your values. No morals, no respect for nothing. You run your church like you're running a bank. You're not in the business of saving souls. You've industrialized religion. No values anything. Go, you show up and perform, and you leave and count your money. And if Jesus wanted to join, you wouldn't let him in if he didn't have a certain background. You lost who you are. I do what I want to do. Man? What kind of man lets them on global television take a chair and a desk and turn a young girl upside down and drag her across the floor, and you ain't done nothing to stand up? You ain't no man. I'm not talking about whites now, I'm talking about us, where we go. Well, right now they did it. They always did it. It's what we did in response that got us where we are. When we were in the back of the bus, we wasn't calling grandma no hoe. When we couldn't use a white water fountain, we were not selling dope to each other. Just because somebody knocked you down, you don't start wallowing your face and enjoying the mud. You get up. And even when we didn't have the strength to get up, we rolled over and looked up until we could figure out how to get up. Bad enough that you're not trying to get up. It's worse that you lost the dream of getting up. And you passed that on to your children. And you made them hopeless. And once you become hopeless, you become worthless. Because you don't feel that you're going to matter in the first place. Movements are not built on despair. They're built on hope. Amen. That's why Dr. King's era song, "We Shall Overcome." That's why Reverend Jackson's era was, "I Am Somebody." That's why our era was and is "No justice, no peace." Defiant, going up against the grain, going against being debated. And that's why they took the music and the culture and beat down your vision and your hope. And once they convinced you, don't listen to your elders now. That's old school. Listen to something new. What is it that you want me to listen to? Just listen to yourself. How you gonna tell yourself something yourself don't know? I was talking to some young activists, not in National Action Network, down in Florida the other day. One of them said to me, "Reverend Al, You know, some young activists don't agree with y'all in the civil rights thing, and some do. I respect y'all, but, you know, we got our own way. I said, we always had our own way. Every generation already had their own way. You got folk in National Action Network, young, they got their own way. Huddle meet every Monday night. I don't even come. Mary Pat Hector, head of our youth department. They occupied the corners in Atlanta yesterday. Their own way. That is part of what generation to generation is about. I said, but let me tell you something. Isn't it interesting that some young activists spend more time condemning their parents and their elders than they do their enemies? Y'all can run down, I don't agree with Al Sharpton, I don't agree with Mark Morial, I don't agree with the civil rights establishment. Y'all ain't jumped on Donald Trump yet. That's right. Because somewhere you know that it's harmless to attack me, because I'm not going to attack you back. Because you know that we love you enough to wait for you to grow up. But you know if you jumped on folk like Trump, they're going to come back and hit you with everything they got. It's a cheap shot to go after your mom and daddy. Because you know your mom and daddy ain't going to hurt you. But that's all part of the process of worthlessness. Because if everybody ahead of you was worthless, it means you worthless too, because they produced you. Every time you tell a child your daddy wasn't nothing, and every time he looked in the mirror, he looked like his daddy, what do you think you telling that child? I grew up not understanding, after whatever my mother and father and all that happened, that I've written about, how he abandoned us, incest and all that. And I always talk about how my mother would never talk against my father, never heard a word. Right. And years later would tell me you need to always respect and reconcile if you care with your father. Right. And it waited till I got older before I understood why she did that, because she understood that no matter how angry I was with my father and hurt I was with my father, I was Al Sharpton Jr. And if Al Sharpton was nothing, what am I calling myself every day? I was fathered by James Brown, taught by Wyatt Walker, Jesse Jackson, but my genes come from Al Sharpton. So you got to be able to surgically remove the bad without throwing the value out. Otherwise, someone doesn't have a foundation of value to build from. That's why they've taken the music and the culture and beat us down to where we think we're so worthless we can kill each other and nobody cares. And you don't know it because, let me tell you how much the culture's changed. Reverend McMorris and us were talking about this last night. Given the technology of today, and given social media, it ain't like when you and I grew up. If somebody cut a hit record, you had to hear all the music till they got to your record. And Frankie Crocker would decide for us who was a hit. Now with social media, these kids listen to what they want over and over again because they got the iPods in their ear. They ain't listening to you on radio. They have programmed themselves. So if they want to hear those hoes ain't loyal, they can hear it over and over and over, go to sleep with it in the ear. You laying up in the bed reading your Bible and your grandchild in the room, patting his foot, the hoes ain't loyal, and you don't know nothing about it because he got the earphone on. You watching the TV, he's watching his iPod. So his news is coming from ways you don't even know. There is a different world out here now where they can program themselves, and those in charge of those programs are not from us, for us, or with us. And they're raising our children rather than we raise our own. And they're raising them to hate us. Because if they can divide us, they ain't got to worry about us. So success is redefined. So when we coming along, Black Enterprise Magazine would show us great success stories. Now, if you make enough money to build a business and employ people, you a sellout. So what are they really telling you? Don't be successful. Because to be black, you got to be broke and busted and full of despair. Turn it around. So they don't have to compete with you because you ain't going to compete. Because you so busy trying to prove you ain't a sellout, you ain't going to try to achieve nothing. One of the little so-called super radical leftists said to me, Reverend Al, you have access to the White House and the mayor show on NBC. You're part of the establishment. I said, we fought to get in the establishment. You ain't hurt my feelings. You talking to one of these lost Negroes don't know where they at. We fought to get in the White House. We fought to get in City Hall. And we're going to use the White House and City Hall to change the things that kept us down. And I'm not apologizing about it. Yes, I'm on MSNBC and be on everything else. And we fought to get there. You was born in there. I had to fight to get there. And I'm not backing up one step. When you let folk redefine success. Sick when people can tell you that down is up and up is down. Sick when people can tell you right is wrong and wrong is right. That's where we are. That's right. That is the challenge of this time. That's my message this morning. That's the challenge of this time. That we've got to turn our community back around. And we've got to return values and return some levels of standards in our community. We must recapture the narrative of our community. Because the narrative ain't there no more. And anybody step outside of that narrative, they try to destroy. Not just actors, anybody. That's right. They jump all over me. Look at what they're doing to Ben Carson now. And they got a new wrinkle with Ben Carson. This is the first time, Attorney Hardy, I've ever seen where they ask a black man to prove he had a violent childhood. And that's a new one. You used to try to prove you didn't have one. Now they say, prove you was going to stab somebody. Who was you going to stab? You said Joe and you said James. Which one was it? You ain't no real thug. Prove you was a thug. Bop a little when you walk. Show me your thug thing. What kind of sickness is this? I don't agree with Ben Carson's politics, I don't agree with his policies. But here you got one of the top neurosurgeons in the world, if not the top. And you want him to prove he was a fraud? What are you saying to us? And got him up on TV. No, for real, I really had a temple problem. I really did go at Tom and all that. Well, somebody said to me, Dr. Marcus Bright, somebody said to me, well, in all this despair, I mean, how do we even deal with this? It's just too much. Marcus and I was in Florida the other night talking about all of this and that, where you are in history, and this kind of calamity now. It looked like it's too much. And I went back to the Bible.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes things happen so that God can use you to solve it. Sometimes what you're looking at in disgust, you ought to be looking at in assignment. Sometimes things put in your path that bother you ought to get you ready, because God don't make mistakes. So you ought to be asking, why is all this happening? And what am I supposed to do about it? Cynthia running the office of National Action Network out there in Staten Island got more complaints than she could handle. 1 minute police, the next minute criminals and thuggery. You could easily throw up your hands. Why is all this happening? What's God gonna do? That's what he got you there for. God didn't elevate you for your ego. God didn't give you resources just for you. I was the other day coming back from Miami. Guy got on the plane sitting across from me. And he said, yeah, you know, I'm not into all that philanthropy, but I might send you some one day. But I'm rich, nobody helped me, I'm not going to do nothing for nobody, da, da, da. And when I was younger, Marcus, I would have jumped right in this case, but I got a little older now. So I waited. I didn't say nothing. We jumped up there over the clouds, leveled off at about 32,000 feet. We about 30 minutes in the flight, hit a little turbulence. I reached across the aisle and said, now what was you saying about your money? You get up here about 32,000 feet, start telling God what you ain't gonna do. Quit making excuses for not doing what you're supposed to do. Well, they ain't gonna do nothing with it, they ain't right, no, it ain't. Quit making excuses. So I went back to the book, and there was a blind man. Now I want you to watch this. Get this in the barbershop. There was a blind man. The disciples said, I wonder what he did, what his folks did, that he was born like that. Reason he blind, the reason he's afflicted is some wickedness somebody did, and God paid him back. Jesus said, no. He ain't blind because of what somebody did. He's blind because he's there for me to heal, to show that I can open blind man's eyes. is a disgrace. It's just a prerequisite to some amazing grace. What you think is daddy is just in its pre-clean state. You got to take the rejected and the thrown away and the outcast and work and clean it up. That's what God brought you here for. I come up as a boy preacher. There were 2 or 3 boy preachers when I come up. One went to seminary, mastered theology. Another went off to deep end. As I look back at my life now, God brought me a different way. Because God said, I need somebody from Howard Beach to Eric Garner to do something different. You are where you are to confront what you see and change what you see. Otherwise, you have not lived to the destiny God gave you. Why do you get up and come up here Saturday mornings? Why do you have something in you that keeps telling you when your friends don't feel that we got to do something? Because you were born for a reason and you need to embrace it and do it, and you'll never have no peace till you do it. James Brown took me as a son. Manager had a heart attack. I stayed down there with him, but I was not at peace. I come back, built National Youth Movement, didn't have a cent, but I was at peace. Don King offered me a big position. Said, no, I won't do that. I never knew National Action Network would work, but I knew what I had to fulfill. I'm not telling you my story, I'm telling you yours. Deep down in your heart, you know that there's a calling and you just trying to make excuses not to answer your call. Telling yourself you ain't qualified, telling yourself you don't have the backing, telling yourself you don't have money. What you don't have is enough faith. If you have faith just the size of a mustard seed, if you have faith just the size of a mustard seed, if you have faith, not a whole lot of faith, just the size of a mustard seed, you would know that every oak tree started as an acorn. Just get a little faith and all that you need, God will provide. God ain't never asked nobody to see their bank account. He never asked nobody to show me your degrees from school. He never asked nobody to give me your pedigree and your background. All he asks is if you believe in me. If you got the faith, I got the power. I can make a way out of no way. One of the most powerful sermons I ever heard in my life, Adam Clayton Powell preached, called What's in Your Hand. You don't need nothing on the outside. In your hand, you already got everything you need. Moses went up on the Mount Sinai, confronted the bush consumed by fire. God told him, go back and tell Pharaoh, let my people go. He didn't tell him to get no army. He didn't tell him to get no militia training. Moses said, well, what am I going to do when I get out there and Pharaoh fight? He said, what's in your hand? Not what you can go get, what you already got in your hand. Moses said, well, I ain't got nothing but a rod in my hand. Well, take your rod. And when you get jammed up, just stretch your rod out. Because I already gave you everything you need. If handling me, and I'll come back you up. I come to the house of justice to tell you this morning what's in your hand. Take the rod you got and stretch it out. Close your eyes if you're scared, but stretch it out. You may be trembling inside, but stretch it out. If God sees the rod, he promised he'd make a way. We got to save our community. We got to bring values and worth back. Maybe we was born earlier so we could see more, so we could share more with those born later. And tell them there was a time when we didn't have a dime in our pocket, but we strutted down Lenox Avenue. There was a time when they would foreclose on our homes, but we still called it Sugar Hill. There was a time that stars would come to Harlem and made it the capital of the black world. No, we're not worthless. No, hoes can be loyal. A black woman named Rosa Parks sat at the back of the bus and wouldn't give up her seat. Don't talk about they can't be loyal. She sat there long enough to make Barack Obama president. I'm trying to tell you who we are. Stand up, black man. Stand up, black woman. This is your day to embrace your destiny. What's in your hand? What's in your hand? Stretch out your rod and let's go forward. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Yeah. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. We want justice. Got to have justice. We want justice. I got to go to Reverend Ron Christian's funeral, but I want to open the doors of the movement. There may be someone here today that listens to us on the radio, sees our TV shows or whatever, but never became a member of Nash Action Network. If you're here, I want you to just walk up to me right now. Let me sign you up. Even if you don't have membership dues, just come on and let me make you